Hello everyone, I'm Cole from the Kingdom, and today we're talking about some ideas for future Mass Effect Squadmates. Of course I want to see them develop Andromeda a lot more, but I admit there is still a lot of potential in the Milky Way. So I'm going to start with my Squadmate ideas I think work best in the Milky Way, then get into some that could be in either galaxy, and then finish with the ones I think work best in Andromeda. So starting off, we got a Solarian hitman. The government-sponsored kind, not the criminal kind. He used to work for STG, but he left because he got to the point where he couldn't stand the secrets and hypocrisy of his superiors. For the secrets, he didn't like being told to take a life but not being told why. He didn't like when his superiors ordered him to kill someone to cover something up, because it was usually something shady that he wouldn't have approved of anyway. And often his targets were Solarians that were technically traitors, but only did what they did because they had the same feelings he did. So he doesn't turn traitor, but he does leave STG. He does not freelance. He attempts a normal life, maybe a desk job. He is not great at it. But then he's forced back into action and picked up by the new protagonist. This guy has a very unique sense of right and wrong. He doesn't see things as good or bad, he sees things as good or stupid. He doesn't see the bad guys as evil, he sees them as foolish. He's not totally black and white, and he doesn't intentionally act superior. He sees a decent amount of gray, but struggles with understanding different but equally valid points of view. So that would be his main character arc. Alternatively, it could be about fighting the right battles for the right reasons. This could even be split into two characters, I don't know. Or maybe that's the wisdom he imparts onto the protagonist. Next we have a Drell detective. There was a Drell detective character in the book Annihilation, which inspired this. Drell are uniquely suited for detective work. They're almost like living cameras. Every person they question, they can recall the exact expressions and body language. It takes training to recognize them, as it's a species and cultural barrier, plus you have to account for observation bias tainting the memories. For example, the Drell may think someone is expressing sadness when questioning, but in reality they're hiding something. The Drell may only remember how they saw the person at the time. But as new information comes to life, they could re-enter the crime scene from memory, as there may be a clue they missed. This character would, I guess, have kind of a grizzled noir detective vibe. I like that. I think that could be fun. Bonus points if we meet him in a diner, sitting alone, drinking a hot cup of coffee, or something similar. And we haven't really had a proper detective on the team before. I'm thinking this guy would be overly cautious and distrusting, maybe a little paranoid, and that gets tempered over the course of the game. He learns to open up, relax, and let his guard down, except that not everyone is hiding something sinister. You know, that kind of thing. This character could also be a Solarian, but I'm having a harder time imagining a Solarian fulfill that noir detective vibe as well as a Drell. So next up is a Batarian Rebel. We have yet to have a Batarian squadmate, and that kinda sucks. This guy could give us insight into the hegemony. And this character would be someone who left it behind. Kinda like Dorian from Dragon Age Inquisition. He sees the problems with his government, so he leaves. Again, this was kind of a character in Annihilation, but she was a crime boss. This Batarian rebel... Garrus talks about having a Batarian on his team of vigilantes, so I guess he would be a lot like that. Maybe a bounty hunter type. This guy's character arc would be about opening up and taking a more active role in changing things. A bit like Rex, now that I think of it. Okay, a lot like Rex, so I guess try to avoid doing exactly that again. Next is a Ralloy. Many people have not even heard of the Ralloy. They are the newest intelligent species discovered in the Milky Way. They had a good first contact, but then the Reapers showed up, and they pulled back to their homeworld, hoping the Reapers would think they were too primitive to harvest. Being the newest race on the scene after humans could give a super fun and interesting perspective on the Milky Way. Finally, for the Milky Way exclusive characters, we have a super by-the-books Turian. This guy is defined by his training and service. That's his basis of right and wrong. Over the course of the game, he faces challenges that force him to confront the gray, and he has to accept that lawful doesn't always equal good. Garrus and Vetra were both unique among Turians. Turian society is really cool, but we haven't had someone who really epitomizes it, both its strengths and its shortcomings. Kind of like how with Morden we saw the strengths and shortcomings of STG. Moving on to the characters that could be in either galaxy, I want to talk about a female Krogan. On Tuchanka, females were segregated for protection, and we hear from Eve how many of them felt about that. In Andromeda, we see a new start for the Krogan, with males and females intermingling out in the open, but they still have to carry the feelings they had about Tuchanka. So, a female Krogan salty about her people's state. If this is the Milky Way and the Krogan aren't extinct, there's still division among them. Following Eve's example, this woman is fighting for a better future away from war. Unfortunately, that means she also has to kick some ass to make her people stop fighting. This would be the first Krogan squadmate that doesn't revel in battle. It's a means to an end. That might sound boring, but all the others like fighting, so this would set her apart. It's kind of like at a family gathering, the normally quiet person stands up and starts screaming at everyone to knock it off, and then sits back down like nothing happened. And the community has been wanting a romanceable Krogan for years. I'm going to assume it's for wholesome reasons because that makes me feel better. But I think it would be absolutely hilarious if they finally give us a Krogan romance option, and they're female. So next is an Asari. I have major issues with the Asari on a conceptual level, their design and world building. That's not to say I don't like any Asari characters, just the list is kinda short. So here. An Asari with kind of a biker aesthetic. A bad girl, a rebel, kind of like Jack, I guess, but this Asari biker would have a totally different character arc. This woman likes the action. Unlike Jack, she's not distrusting. She's a loner, but she's not overly guarded. I'd actually say she's an extrovert. She likes parties, meeting people, traveling to new places, having fun, but she's estranged from her family for not being a proper Asari. She is who she is and makes no apologies. Though she claims to be angry at her family for not accepting her, she still loves them and wants their love. It's a very human story. It's been done plenty of times across all mediums, but an alien in a space opera might set her apart. So it's kinda cliche, but we could have a lot of fun with this character. One more thing, she's not eager to jump into bed with anyone. She's very particular about who gets that privilege, more so than many Asari. And lastly, for the characters that could be in either galaxy, we have a religious Turian. I'm interested in the religions of the other races, except the Asari. I liked Thane's religious side, but I'd take it further with this Turian. I'd really love to learn more about the spirits and see their prayers and practices and how it affects their lives. I want to know about some of the older teachings of their religions. I want to see a character that falls back on the spirits in tough moments. I want to see their faith and their passions. I want to know why they're doing what they're doing, either in the Milky Way or Andromeda. For the Milky Way, I'm sure this Turian would have a very interesting view on the modern Turian hierarchy. In Andromeda, maybe that's the reason he joined the initiative. Maybe he didn't like it, or maybe he wants to bring the best things about it to Andromeda. Maybe he's part of some kind of religious warrior group. Sort of like Samara, but she doesn't really go into her faith very much, if at all. And now Andromeda exclusive characters. Starting off, we have one of the best Quarian characters, and that's saying a lot. Senanir. He was pretty much the main character in Annihilation, and he is a model Quarian as far as I'm concerned. Unlike other Quarians, he likes AI and VI. He connects with them better than he does most other people. He wanted to be Pathfinder, but that's the reason he wasn't chosen. He was sympathetic to AI, and the Quarians wanted their Sam shackled as all hell. That's a torturous existence, by the way. Being aware, but unable to do anything except what your Pathfinder specifically allows. When this Sam rebels, it's gonna have good reason. Maybe that could be part of Senna's story, finding out the Sam did rebel and you have to help Senna calm it down. Or maybe he wants to free it, but it's bound by duty and doesn't want to be freed. That's possible. I prefer the calming it down story, but I'm good both ways. An AI that only wants to serve and be useful would be interesting on its own. But I think it makes more sense for Senna's character for it to be the calming it down story. Then you can convince it to reintegrate into the initiative with more freedoms. Anyway, Senna is amazing. I really can't wait to meet him. And if he's romanceable, my panties are dropped. We need a male Quarian squad mate. Senna is perfect. So next we have another Angara, female this time. We meet a lot of Angara throughout Andromeda, and I cannot overstate how awesome it is that they all have such unique personalities and unique viewpoints, and all feel real and believable. Mass Effect has a pretty great track record with that, but a lot of other games just have NPCs where there's really nothing special about them, or have a Planet of Hats situation. That's not always a bad trope, but when it comes to immersing yourself in worlds like Mass Effect, characters with just a few lines can make the world feel so real, and Andromeda does a spectacular job with that. So, this character, I don't really have much to say except just do more of what you did in the first game. I guess Jal was a career soldier from a well-known family of soldiers, but he talks about how he's not really a fighter. He fights because he has to, but that's not who, or at least not all, he wants to be. So I guess to distinguish the next Angara squad mate, we could have her be a pirate? That kinda makes her feel too much like the Vetra to Jal's Garrus. How about a young soldier who's eager to fight, but maybe has some delusions of grandeur, and she gets humbled early on. When things aren't as simple as she expected, she looks to the PC for comfort. Or maybe she's like a female Angara James? That could work. So next is a Drell Adventurer, a common profession for Drell in the Milky Way, and Andromeda certainly needs adventurers. This guy is a smartass. He's cocky and headstrong. Over the course of the game, he gets humbled. You remember in Anderson's biography in the Citadel DLC? Well, I'll just play it.
I had just gotten promoted to N7. Full of myself, king of the castle. Found myself buying drinks for undesirables in some rundown bar in the wards. They toasted my recent promotion. Hell, they would have toasted Batarian slavers if it had got them more drinks. About the time my money ran out, my new friends turned on me. I was outnumbered. Things didn't look good. My plan to get out of there involved lots of punching. Well, that worked for a while. Then a table hit me. Or I fell down. When I came to, I saw a Solarian putting the rest of the troublemakers down. A Solarian? Moved like a damn cat, I swear. When everybody was out cold. Or running. He walked over and helped me up. N7, he asked. Yes, sir, I replied. He looked over my collection of unconscious friends, nodding. Not bad, human, he said. Then he walked away. I had met my first Spectre. Learned an important lesson that day. No matter how good you think you are, there's always somebody quicker, faster, and a hell of a lot smarter than you just around the corner. That little lesson's kept me alive more than once since then.
So that's basically the arc for this cocky, smart-ass Drell adventurer. He's great, but he learns to be humble, to accept limitations, to realize things like choosing not to fight isn't cowardice. He's still a smartass, probably a huge fan of sarcasm, but by the end he isn't as cocky or overconfident, and that sets him up well for the future. Lastly, we have another Asari, and this one I'm really excited to talk about. I'm calling her Mela, M-A-E-L-A. Much like the biker, she's not like any Asari squad mate we've had in the past. I have opinions on our previous Asari squad mates. Most of my issues with them are just from my personal tastes. There's a few issues I have with their writing, but for the most part, it's just me. It's not the character's fault, it's not the writer's fault, it's just about what I want to see. So Mela. First things first, she's just a person. Like Liam. Say what you will about his character, but he's just a guy who was a cop, then crisis response, now is aboard the ship. Or Caden. Yeah, he had special biotic training and a nice backstory, but he's still just a Marine when we meet him. Or Garrus in the first game. He grew a lot and became a badass vigilante later, but when we first meet him, he's just a cop. Granted, he spent some time in the military, like most Turians, but my point is that he's got nothing that makes him stand out. I like these characters who at least start off as normal people. Maybe they go on to do great things, but they start in a very relatable place. Rex and Zaid have big reputations as bounty hunters and mercenaries. Miranda and Jack are super enhanced. Grunt was grown to be the perfect Krogan. Samara was a member of an elite order of warriors. Thane was a master assassin, and so on. Don't misunderstand, there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of these characters. I love them. But I also think it's important to have characters that aren't anything special when we first meet them. In Dragon Age, we got Varric, who's just a guy, and Aveline, who was just a soldier, not even a particularly notable one. She's a badass, but there's no special reputation yet. Mela was a cop on Thessia. She has a very neutral good alignment. She's about the spirit of right and wrong, not the letter. She doesn't like when the law gets in the way of doing the right thing, but she also doesn't like, say, chaotic good vigilantes. But something else that makes her unique among Asari is something I made up. It's a rare disease among Asari that drastically shortens their lifespan. Details aren't super important right now. Maybe she ages faster, maybe it's like Kepral's syndrome where it'll just eventually kill her. Main point is, her expected lifespan is about 300 years, and she's in her 100s right now. This is why she joined the Andromeda Initiative. She wanted to do something amazing in her life. Her disease took a lot from her. People would pity her. She wanted to help establish a new society in a new galaxy, to see and do things people back home could never dream of. Her disease took a lot from her, but it also inspired her. Most Asari think in the super long term. Her disease forces her to think more about the short term than most other Asari would. She's a happy person, excited to do things now that will have a lasting impact after she's gone. I've never liked the Asari's crazy long lifespan, so I admit this is kind of an answer to that. But it also affords a very unique insight to both the Asari, yes, but also our own lives. Her story is about appreciating the time we have, but more specifically, it's about not measuring life just by how many years we live, but how good those years are. It's something hard for us to appreciate with the world being the way it is. But what's the point of living a long life if you don't spend those years doing something great? Maybe not that changes the world, but at least makes you happy and fulfilled. That's what Mela's story is. A full life doesn't have to mean a long life. And if you romance her, you know she's still going to outlive you, but the fact that she intends to spend so much of her limited time with you, that's something special. That says a lot about her love. Also, her having grown up and lived on Thessia, she doesn't have very much experience with aliens. That was supposed to be a thing for Samara, but she talks about how she traveled a lot before becoming a Justicar, so she was just out of practice. It was also kind of a thing for Liara, but that was less inexperience with aliens and more just standard social awkwardness. This should come up more for Mela, where despite coming from a galaxy full of different races, she also doesn't have a lot of experience with those races, so that could help her empathize and connect with any new aliens we meet. And I always love trying to explain how humans work to aliens, because we don't make any sense. So that about does it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know which of these characters are your favorite, and let me know what kind of characters you want to see in the future. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like. Ishare.